Good evening and a very warm welcome to this special broadcast. We're coming to you live from Nelspruit at this church where we are now. The ANC is going to unveil for the first time key aspects of its manifesto that is intended for a formal launch tomorrow morning at the Mbombela Stadium here in Nelspruit. But joining me now for a brief preview of what is going to happen tonight and indeed tomorrow is the Minister of Finance, Pravin Gordhan. Minister, thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening, and thank you very much.
Well, let's go straight to matters economic or financial. Business confidence on the rise, but of course a lot of concerns around the free fall of the rand, but also some people speculating that certain areas of the economy, manufacturing has been cited as one of them. It is anticipated that those areas may shed some jobs. Your thoughts?
I think what we must remember is a few things. The first is that we're still growing around 2%. Many parts of the world are either at 0 or below 0. And our main challenge is how do we lift 2% to 5% or 4%? And how do we get both government and labor and business to cooperate in a way in which we focus on that issue, which will then result in more jobs, greater inclusivity of our population in economic affairs, but also benefits that accrue from economics. Secondly, there is a rather negative anti-emerging market sentiment that's been developing from about May, June last year. And South Africa is beginning to see the consequences of that as well. So as the developed world is doing a little bit better, in the United States, in the UK, the narrative is changing. And the world's attention is being drawn to, well, there's this weakness in Brazil, or that problem in India, or China is having difficulty with its banking sector. And the public should be aware that this is part of our global battle, that when the big guys find their feet again, they will point fingers at us. And that's causing some of the difficulties that we have at the present. And thirdly, the depreciation in the rand is both a cost on the one hand, but it's also an opportunity. So those of us who want to export, those of us that are ready to respond to the new conditions around us are going to be able to benefit. And if we're too slow, well, others are going to take the gap.
But how confident are you as the ANC that you are going to be able to make the great majority of South Africans, many of whom are jobless, to actually see the problem from your perspective that, as you say, many, if not most of these things are in fact beyond your own control?
Some of it is beyond our control. Some of it is certainly within our control. So it's up to leaders, which we are prepared to work with as the ANC in business and in labor and in social organizations as well, to single-mindedly focus on areas of job creation, on creating small enterprises, in supporting small enterprises and incubating them, so that more and more people are drawn into the economic world. And I think that it's the ANC that has the highest level of commitment to ensuring that this second level of transformation is undertaken. And remember, we've just come through a once in 70-year recession, and we've held our fiscus firm. We've got a stable set of finances. Now we've got to get on to the next task, which is to grow the economy, grow the revenue base so that we could do more, both as government and the ANC on the one hand, and with fellow South Africans as well.
But are you worried at all that perhaps some of your opponents may exploit even those issues that you are saying are beyond your control, and perhaps begin to craft a message to the electorate that suggests that even though you have done a lot, you have not done as much as you could have done? Are you worried at all that any of your opponents may come up with a message that strikes a chord?
Well, this is politics. So in politics, like in soccer or cricket or any other sport, if opponents see an opportunity to exploit a gap, they will take it. So I'm not worried about it. We must expect that as the ANC, and we expect that to happen. And what we need is a greater education of the public as to what to believe and what not to believe. So if you grab land and grab property and grab mines, does that necessarily mean that millions of jobless youth are going to benefit? Or does it mean that a few who've shown how to put money in their own pockets are going to continue to actually do that for themselves? And I think that's the job we have. That's a job you have as the media as well. Raise the level of understanding amongst the South African public so that they can make their democratic choices. And of course, we hope that they'll choose the ANC.
Now, allow me, Minister, to raise an issue, for example, that is very much out there in the public domain, which links to the issues that you have to handle. E-tolling, for example. You have been firm as government on the importance of the user pays principle, and the fact that you've borrowed money as a country. As government, you made guarantees, and you are unwavering, it would seem, on the issue of e-tolls. You don't think that that issue is one of the issues that may just work against the ANC?
Look, there's a lot of emotion around that issue and a lot of distortion of facts as well. And I don't think the public has been given a fair opportunity to understand all of the facts, understand the consequences of either decisions we make or they make, both on the country as a whole and on themselves. So that's the first thing. The second is that government has listened. So if you look at the last 2 years or 18 months, we've listened very carefully. We've therefore exempted public transport. We've lowered the fees. We've put in caps. And all of that, whether it is for business or for individuals, improvements have taken place on alternate roads and routes. And all of that is as a result of people raising their voices. And that's the kind of democracy we certainly want. Now, you just don't raise 20 billion rands somewhere else. And I see some political leaders recently in the last couple of hours have been saying, well, you can do it through the fuel levy. The fuel levy brings 40-odd billion rands a year. We spend over 120 billion rands a year on road infrastructure throughout the country. So it's foolish to actually say the fuel levy will meet all of our road construction and maintenance requirements throughout the country. But secondly, just as much as Gauteng residents would have a difficulty, so would the rest of South Africa if the fuel levy is going to be increased for all of them. Now, if you only raise the fuel levy for Gauteng, we're talking about another 15 to 25 cents per litre per person. Now, that's for anybody who uses a taxi or a bus or whatever the case might be. So we've listened to all the arguments very carefully. Simplifying them and purifying them doesn't really help. And we will still continue to focus our minds on how do we communicate better, how do we get people to understand, and we need to drop the emotion, because emotions don't necessarily give us the facts and often mislead us in terms of what needs to be done. But the assurance I can give is that we do listen, we have listened very carefully, and we'll take every opportunity to reduce the burden on South Africans.
Lastly, Minister, the National Development Plan. Now, apart from people, as opposed to people opposed to, let's say, e-tolls, your political opponents, you have within the broader tripartite alliance, both the SACP and COSATU having issues with sections of the National Development Plan. Have you been able to bring everybody, in other words, are you now reading from the same script as the ANC, COSATU and the SACP around those sections that you differed on?
You know, we don't have a situation, as the ANC leadership has said, where because of one or two or three issues, we now have to paralyze ourselves. Government is moving on. A new medium-term strategic framework will be crafted. When the elections take place, a new government will come in and they will put into place a plan to start implementing the NDP. At the same time, we do have the responsibility to continue dialogue, to find compromises. That's what life is about. And to find solutions, and if there are creative ideas, to incorporate them as well. So I think it's very important to keep proportionality in mind. So if you buy a watermelon and a little piece in the corner is a bit overripe, you don't say the whole watermelon is overripe. So here, I hope you had some watermelon in the holidays. So here what we are saying is get the proportions right, and the ANC approach is let's have our conversations, let's have our debates, let's find solutions, and let's move ahead with implementation, because that's the kind of implementation that will solve many of the problems that we are talking about.
And the same goes for what some of your allies have called the youth wage subsidy in disguise.
Well, I don't know about disguise. I think that what we have is a broader concept of the employment tax incentive, because it also applies to people who work within special economic zones, and it applies to young people as well. And they're always saying is that there are many, many ideas around the world to encourage young people to get jobs or job opportunities or their first opportunity to actually work. And we have a responsibility to try whatever it is that we can try, give it our best shot, but the most important objective we have, and which all South Africans must work with us on, is let's get our young people off the streets. Let's give them an opportunity to learn what it means to work in different environments and ensure at the same time that workers that are already in companies are not compromised, not dismissed, not prejudiced in any way. And I think we've found a formula to move forward.
Minister, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Minister of Finance, Pravin Gordhan, talking there about some of the economic and financial aspects, things to expect from the manifesto of the ANC that President Jacob Zuma will be talking about this evening. Of course, that manifesto will be unveiled tomorrow morning, but tonight we're going to get glimpses of it, and that is what this broadcast is about this evening. For now, though, we're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be back right after this.
SABC News plays a critical role in providing unbiased and reliable news. We have a well-established reputation of uncovering, reporting and delivering news. A significant growth in popularity of our news demonstrates the demand for our news content. We continue to provide unrivaled coverage of vital events in and out of the country. Wherever the news is happening, we'll be there to bring them to you at the right time. No one has the news covered like SABC News. We lead and they follow. SABC News, Africa's news leader.
I'm looking at Philip Hawkins, he's looking dapper today, and then Sam Murray has got all the results, including that heartwarming try by the Box.
Sibongile Khumalo, Mbuso Khoza, Ringo Madlingozi and Kulichana are some of the musical acts that will headline this year's Live at the Market Theatre series of music concerts.
Justice Minister Jeff Radebe says government is not undermining the independence of Public Protector Thuli Madonsela.
The Public Protector has, in our view, unreasonably denied us the opportunity to properly engage the report.
An airport resembles a war zone in the Philippines. In its wake, damage, debris, and death.
Why did you guys decide to name the debut album Treasure?
Treasure, oh, because of my late granny told me that I'm a stone, then I saw it like, okay, since I'm a stone, this is a treasure.
That's Morning Live, daily at 6 a.m. on SABC News.
Well, welcome back, and if you've just joined us, we're coming to you live from the Church on the Hill here in Nelspruit. President Jacob Zuma will be unveiling for the first time aspects of the ANC's election manifesto. For now, though, we are joined here by the chairperson of the ANC's Committee on Education and Health, Naledi Pandor. Welcome. And
thank you very much, and good evening.
Now, a lot has been said about the top 5, what the president of the ANC calls apex priorities, and health and education are among those. What have you come up with as the committee? What recommendations have you made? What have been your inputs to the process that has led to the manifesto that is going to be unveiled tonight and launched officially tomorrow?
Well, education is the apex priority. I don't wish to take away any thunder from the president, but clearly education remains one of the most important areas in which South Africa has to succeed. We are very pleased at the progress that we note. I must congratulate the young people who've done well in the National Senior Certificate, as well as encourage those who didn't succeed to continue to pursue education. We would hope that we continue with our efforts to improve the quality of education, but also to ensure that more and more young people have greater access to post-school education. As you know, one of the key policy instruments that has emerged in the last year is this concept of post-school education, and looking at strengthening that, both to address young people who have not had opportunity, as well as young adults who wish to continue with their education because they had a break. Key to that is the strengthening of the FET college sector, but also ensuring that we have more higher education institutions. Hence, our great pleasure at the fact that we have the University of Mpumalanga coming into stream this year, as well as the new Sol Plaatje University in the Northern Cape province. We're also very happy that we are going to achieve our objective of creating a health and allied sciences university through strengthening the old Medunsa institution, and that there will be another health faculty at the University of Limpopo. So these are all future endeavors in education. And of course, at the basic level, we must continue to look for improvement in literacy and numeracy. I believe the foundation phase, the early learning base of education, continues to need attention. On the administrative side, I think we've done a great deal. It's now in the learning and teaching that we really have to strengthen our effort.
Let's talk briefly about teaching, Minister. One of the problems, there have been lots of debates over the past week following the release of the matric results. And one of the things that have emerged has been the attitude of teachers towards their work, but also other problems. If you take the Eastern Cape, for example, you isolate the Eastern Cape and look at the role of teachers, in particular, a teachers union that is allied to the ANC, the South African Democratic Teachers Union. What is the ANC's attitude towards what the teachers' contributions generally, but specifically the contribution of SATU in particular towards some of the intractable problems that we are finding in areas like the Eastern Cape?
Well, we have always said that teachers are key to us achieving success in education. And I think in the last 5 years, we've actually had one of the most peaceful periods in terms of the partnership between the Department of Education and teachers. So it's been a good period, and I think the results tell us that collaboration between government and teacher unions is absolutely imperative. There are areas, I think, of discipline, of integrity, of conduct that continue to need to be ironed out. And I believe the introduction of the National Education Development and Evaluation Unit is a very important development for South Africa, because to some degree schools were left to their own devices. Now you have a dedicated institution that will be paying attention to schools, that will be reporting on a regular period on how schools are performing, that will identify development needs and produce a national report which will inform interventions. So I think the Need You is a very good step for South Africa, and the Basic Education Department must use that institution to good effect. The unions have bought into the Evaluation and Development Unit. They've also crafted a teacher development plan because they recognize that the quality of teachers is actually key to the kind of achievement we want to see. So I think that for the first time, actually, we have a basis for moving forward. I also think SATU recognizes the importance that it holds to the future of the children of our country, and that you cannot play politics with education. The SATU leadership, in commenting on the recent results, has acknowledged that teacher development is an important part of what they must support. So I think everybody now really realistically is ready to confront the problems that we face and to acknowledge that professional teachers, quality teachers, are the key to what South Africa needs to do.
A bit about the second aspect of learning. We just spoke about teaching, and that aspect of learning is learning in the mother tongue. There have been a lot of pilot projects in places like the Eastern Cape. They're moving now, the National Department is moving towards implementation. The ANC's attitude towards mother tongue instruction?
Well, all countries accept and educationists that the mother tongue is important, particularly in the foundation phases of learning. But it can't just be the mother tongue, it's quality teaching, you know, because your teachers must understand the relationship between language and learning. They must also be very competent in the language. So I think what has been said is we're going to see greater use of mother tongue education, especially at the early phases, and look at whether we can develop from there, but also we're going to strengthen competence and proficiency in English as a significant language of teaching and learning.
Pando, the chairperson of the committee responsible for health and education within the ANC, sharing with us some thoughts of her committee. And we're going now to be joined very shortly by the chairperson of the ANC Women's League, who's going to talk about some of the women issues that we're expecting to come out of the manifesto that President Jacob Zuma, the ANC president, is going to unveil here this evening. Of course, that manifesto is going to be formally launched tomorrow, but tonight we're going to get a glimpse of some of the broader aspects and issues of that manifesto. That is coming through in a short while. Behind me, people are walking in, trying to find their seats inside the hall at this event which President Jacob Zuma is expected to address. Well, before we are joined by the Minister of Education, but also the chairperson of the president of the ANC Women's League. We're now joined by the national spokesperson and member of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, Mr. Jackson Mthembu. Mr. Mthembu, welcome to you too, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Vio. Good evening to you as well.
Take us through where we are now. Everybody is here, and we're expecting this function to start anytime from now.
Definitely, this function will be starting anytime now. We were just awaiting, or dealing with just a few logistical issues that we have now sorted out. Anytime soon, as we have said, we will allow the various guests to stream in so that we get started. But we are excited because anybody who's who and who of South Africa is here. We have got business people, we have traditional leaders, we have got church leaders, indeed we even have diplomats, we have got serious artists, we have ministers. So this is indeed a wonderful gathering where the President will unveil the manifesto of the African National Congress for these forthcoming elections. We are excited, we are over the moon.
And talk us through again the rationale behind bringing these people, traditional leaders, the business communities, your fraternal organizations.
By the way, for any gala dinner of the ANC, there are two twin objectives. One of them is to get all the sectors, business, religious, to be part of us as we get involved in the election campaign. That's why it's important for our president to give all sectors heads up on what our manifesto will contain. It's not the launch. The launch will be tomorrow at the rally, as you will know. But today is just giving the various sectors and leaders, opinion makers in South Africa, what will be contained in our manifesto. So that's one objective. But the other equally important objective is to raise funds for the elections. So any gala dinner of the ANC has these twin important objectives, and we're happy that we have got very wonderful people who have always stood by the ANC, who have always sponsored the ANC, who have always been very benevolent to the ANC with their finances. They are here, and indeed they will be assisting us with these elections. All elections are very expensive by their very nature. You need to have T-shirts, you need to have ad agencies to assist you with TV ads, with radio ads, with this and that, with creative work. So any election is very, very expensive. So we are happy that the people of this country, particularly our business people, black business people, always come to the party because they know there's only one organization that made them to be where they are today. They are here today again to ensure that the ANC has enough money in its coffers to fight these coming elections.
Mr. Tembo, thank you very much for your input.
Thank you very much, Vio, and again, thank you very much to all people at home.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jackson Tembu, the national spokesperson of the ANC, but also a member of the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress. Well, if you've just joined us, you're watching a live broadcast. We're coming to you from Nelspruit, where a gala dinner is about to start, and that is where President Jacob Zuma, as you heard Mr. Tembu saying there, is going to give several constituencies that are close to the ANC business community, traditional leaders, fraternal organizations, all those will get a sense of what is going to be contained in the manifesto of the ANC that is going to be formally launched tomorrow. But of course, as Mr. Mtembu has said, this function also serves as a fundraising, election fundraising effort of the governing party. Well, joining me now is the Minister of Health, Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi, who's going to give us a sense of perhaps issues that are contained in that manifesto that refer specifically to matters of health. Good evening, Minister, and thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening, well, good evening to the listeners.
Take us through some of the aspects of the ANC's health policy that are going to come through quite strongly in the manifesto that is going to be formally launched tomorrow.
Well, as you know, not only here in South Africa, the general trend around the world is healthcare financing in what is called universal health coverage, which in South Africa we call national health insurance. You are aware in America, it even raised a big storm. It's called Obamacare, affordable health care. You are aware that many other countries like Britain have had it for many decades now, the national health system in Britain. That is one of the main issues that must happen in this era and time. And nowhere can we ever pass a new manifesto without saying something to show the nation the glimpse of what the national health insurance or universal health coverage will look like. The other issue that is being debated even internationally is the whole issue of maternal and child health. Right at the level of United Nations, starting from more than a decade ago, for more than 15 years ago, when Millennium Development Goals were declared. You are aware about Millennium Development Goal 4 and number 5, about survival of mothers in pregnancy and children. And of course, Millennium Development Goal 6 about HIV/AIDS and TB. Those are the topical issues which definitely will have to appear on any manifesto going forward, because this manifesto is not just fresh from the air, it's also based on the National Development Plan.
Well, there are, of course, issues of efficiency, especially within the public system as it stands. A lot of them perhaps having little to do with financing, with the financing of healthcare, but issues of competency, issues of efficiency issues. Are you going, is the manifesto or sort of whatever message, health message that's going to come through from the manifesto going to speak to those issues as well?
They are actually interrelated. It is true, if you are a bad manager, you may say it has got nothing to do with finance, but there is an interrelationship. But let me say up front, and I've said it many times, I'm not sure whether the message is not filtering through. I said clearly that for NHI to survive and be sustainable in South Africa, you need two main ingredients. The first is that the public health system has to work. Quality in the public health care system efficiency and effectiveness. And if you look at all our plans, you'll see that we might not be showing the results yet because maybe they take a long time, but you realize that all our plans are actually based on the fact that the public healthcare system has to work. It's the first precondition for NHI to work. The second precondition, which also appears on the National Development Plan, is the relative cost of private healthcare. Private healthcare is said to be efficient and effective, but the problem is nothing can ever be efficient and effective if it is out of the reach of the citizens, if it's unaffordable. That's why even in America, which is the biggest economy in the country, they are talking about affordable health care, because most of our developments in health come from there, but they are saying if it's not affordable, it's useless to the citizens. So the same in South Africa. So in summary, there are two main ingredients of NHI: the efficiency and effectiveness and quality in public healthcare system, non-negotiable. The cost of private healthcare regulation has to be looked into. So it's not something that we're running away from. I'm aware that when I talk about private healthcare, people say you are running away from
issues in the public health.
Yes, I can't run away from them. 80% of the population depend on public healthcare system. You are aware that I personally, when I'm sick, I'm using the public healthcare system. I was not doing it as a show of view. I was doing it because if we don't make it work, then 80% of the population is going to perish. That's basically a fact, you know.
Dr. Motsoaledi, thank you very much for talking to us this evening.
Thanks a lot.
Dr. Aaron Motsoaledi is, of course, the Minister of Health. He is responsible for the nation's healthcare system. Someone very, very passionate about the issues he raised, ready and willing and able at all times to tackle even some of the most controversial issues that have arisen in that space. Well, right now we are joined by the president of the ANC Women's League. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you very much for joining us. I want to talk to you not about matric results this time around, but about women issues. The manifesto is being launched tomorrow. We're going to get glimpses this evening when President Jacob Zuma speaks. But what for you as ANC women are the key issues that you would like or that you're hoping to see?
Now, one of the key issues is to continue to focus on women, to mainstream it and make sure that in every work that the ANC does, it consciously and deliberately makes sure that women issues are taken care of. So from the preamble, we want the ANC to come up front about the importance of continuing with women empowerment, women emancipation, and the support of women, both in social aspects that affect their lives, political aspects that affect their lives, but mainly also in the economic aspects that affect their life. So we really want to see women issues raised at all levels in every respect.
Now, you will have had, as a structure of the ANC, you will have had input into what we're going to hear, parts of it tonight and tomorrow. What did you take to the ANC? What did you emphasize? What are the key issues that you put? What were the key issues that you put on the table?
You know what has been coming strongly, which on an ongoing basis we've been engaging with the ANC on, is around women and safety. And we've reported consistently even to government that women just don't feel safe in their homes, don't feel safe in the community at all times, under fear of being attacked at any time. So women's safety is one key issue. But we also say, as much as we appreciate that our issues are on the table, our voices are being heard, but it's not translating into meaningful aspects in terms of our lives. Women might be part of the economy, but they're not completely mainstreamed. There are no huge, big women economic investments or even progress that is women-led. So it's quite clear that women reach a certain ceiling, both in the economy, but also socially. Women just really do get into the social mainstream, but they hit a ceiling. And when we went to the ANC conference, we did an analysis to say, yes, indeed, laws are friendly to us. Yes, indeed, the environment is there, there's law, there's commitments, but we don't seem to be making progress. And have identified the specific things which create a ceiling for us. And we do want ANC to raise them, because we did identify for them where do we think there are ceilings or obstacles that make it difficult for us to proceed.
Well, speaking of ceilings, there are people who believe that the Women's League is not championing nearly enough the issue of a woman president, or even more representation of by women within the structures of the ANC.
No, you champion within structures of the ANC, and what you discuss in the ANC structures, it's ANC debates, and I can assure the nation that at all instances, as Women's League, within ANC structures, we do raise issues of women empowerment. This is a Women's League. I mean, the 30% didn't come from heaven for us. The Women's League had to fight it for the women. The 50% didn't come. It was a resolution sponsored by us. So even the 50% in government, it's not anything that comes on its own. At even in these conferences, at every conference as a Women's League, we always work, caucus work with structures, with provinces to make sure that we are represented. So I can assure you that we do our part to fight it, but maybe it's not in our culture that we take ANC battles outside ANC, but within the ANC we do fight those battles.
And lastly, and very briefly, you do not think that the issue of a woman president is an issue at all?
No, it is an issue. It's very important.
Are you prepared to fight for it?
We always fight for it. And I think maybe arising from our last interview, and I think if you allow me to take the opportunity to clarify it. When a journalist asked me that for 2014, are you prepared to run to fight for a women president? And I said to them, what will constitute a fight for any position in the ANC gets resolved in ANC conferences. And after a decision has been taken in the ANC, it's a culture of the ANC to say, this is where it stops, we had lobbied, we have failed or we have succeeded, then we move to the next battle. So in terms of 2014, we said the Mangaung conference has almost resolved. There is no room. If we have to fight for a women's president, it's a battle we will take for 2017. So we are very keen to really see for the first time a women's president, because we have seen in many respects that the women leaders have been the greatest leaders that I think this organization has produced. And I think women in this country, not of the Women's League, are ready to take the country and are ready to run with it. So it's not a battle that we have given up on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
NG Motshekga is, of course, the president of the ANC Women's League, talking to us there about women issues. For now, though, we're going to take a quick commercial break, but don't go away.
We've searched long and hard to get a positive voice on e-tolling in South Africa. You are the man on the spot this morning, Doctor.
This is a classic example of people not being able to see the wood for the trees, because we should concentrate on the roads and think about what it was before these roads were improved.
I want to ask you, though, about the profitability of e-tolling and the fact that so much of the profits will be going to Austria. What is your opinion on this?
This is a pretty rubbish argument. Get the emotions out of the way and just appreciate the fact that we've got these first-class roads. And if we want better roads in future, in Cape Town, in Durban, wherever, in Pretoria, we're going to have to pay for it, and this is the most efficient way to pay for it.
I think I'm going to ask the Minister of Transport to take you on a road show, sir.
Watch Newsroom with me, Eben Janssen, weekdays at 9 a.m. Central African Time, only on SABC News.
Well, good evening. Welcome to yet another bumper edition of Sports Live. Tonight we have a bit of a triple threat in the show.
That's Sports Live, daily at 8:30 p.m. on SABC News, Channel 404.
So
Welcome back, and if you just joined us, you're watching a live broadcast. We're coming to you from Nelspruit in Mpumalanga, where President Jacob Zuma is expected to address a group of business people, alliance partners, traditional leaders, fraternal organizations, all of them linked to the ANC, to brief them on what are the priorities of the ANC this year, but also to give them a sense of what will be contained in the ANC's election manifesto, which is going to be formally launched tomorrow here in Nelspruit at the Mbombela Stadium. For now, though, we're joined by the president of COSATU, Stumo Dlamini. Mr. Dlamini, thank you very much and welcome to this special broadcast.
Thank you very much, Vuyo. Thank you.
Well, you were part of the process. You were very much a part as COSATU of the process that led to the manifesto that is going to be formally unveiled tomorrow, but glimpses of which we're going to get from what President Jacob Zuma will be saying here this evening. What, as COSATU, did you ensure that you put on the table? Whether you won or not, we'll talk about that later. But what are the issues that you took to that process and you put firmly on the table?
Indeed, Vuyo, we were part and parcel of the processes because it's been a range of meetings, different times, different meetings. We went in there with a mandate from COSATU on the critical issues. You can talk a range of those issues, the national minimum wage, you can talk the labor brokers banning, you can talk the issue about the e-tolls, all the issues that COSATU has been at large and heard about. Obviously, when you go there, you are not going to expect to win all the issues. But on the balance of the score, we are happy. We are satisfied on the issues that have found space in the elections manifesto. We are not happy that some of the issues could not go through there. But what we are comfortable with is that after the elections manifesto and after the elections, we'll be continuing to engage with the ANC and government on all the issues. We still remain unhappy. It may be the NDP issues, because we have supported some aspects of the NDP, we are not happy with others. So overall, we think we do have an election manifesto of the alliance where generally we are agreed. We are looking to a process of South Africans supporting that manifesto. Is it very radical enough in line with the radical economic transformation in the second phase of our democracy? No, we don't think so, but we have a lot of space to further engage with the ANC.
But how confident are you that that space exists? Because following the last Central Executive Committee meeting, you complained that the space that you thought had opened had in fact closed again. So how confident are you that you're not being made a promise because you're going into an election?
You know, we went into a National Alliance Political Council. We boxed each other there. We told each other where we have erred on a number of areas. And indeed, as allies, there was an acceptance that we could have done things differently. So we're confident going forward that we must do things better. It should not take us so many months to find each other on issues if we are meeting more frequently.
So you went in there, but did you go in there with like sort of with an attitude of some of these issues are issues of life and death? Let's take the issue of labor brokers, for example.
Yes, COSATU does have a number of issues which were life and death issues for COSATU. You have mentioned one of those issues. There are other issues. Are we going to go into a meeting in a democratic space and have our issues all one there? It doesn't work like that in any form of a democracy, particularly in an alliance arrangement like this one. You win some, you lose some, but we're going out of that process confident that we have the ANC-led alliance conscious of the issues where COSATU has different views on.
Let's go through some of them very quickly. Let's take the issue of e-tolls. Did you put it on the table and did you win?
Vuyo, I've said we've put all the issues. What I'm not going to do is to begin to talk to what is the manifesto of the ANC saying. That the president is going to deal with. So I would rather not venture into even examples of what those issues are.
But you are confident that when workers that belong to COSATU hear or see what is being said about that manifesto tomorrow, they will say Stumo Dlamini is our leader and he represented us well. He won some, he lost some, but overall we think we have won.
Well, what we are confident about, we're coming out here with a product where we are going to work on. We're coming there with a product where we've teased and put issues on the platform. They will see in that manifesto there are many areas which are talking to workers, talking to our youth. Indeed, I can say with confidence, I am satisfied that we have something that will benefit workers out of this elections manifesto of the African National Congress. But people must not make a mistake and try to read into the outcomes of this process by saying who was leading at a particular time. Because people can make that mistake. Because even those that have led before, they've led with the collective. We are a collective at COSATU. It was COSATU leaders engaged in this process. The outcomes of it is not going to be praises to an individual. It's praises to the collective that has worked hard on this.
Mr. Dlamini, Stumo Dlamini, President of COSATU, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thanks very much.
Well, you heard him, you win some, you lose some, but that's not a basis for judging the success or lack of the input or the influence that COSATU has had. Well, if you've just joined us, you are watching a live broadcast coming to you from Nelspruit, where President Jacob Zuma is expected to give several groupings that the ANC holds dearly a sense of what is contained in the manifesto that's going to be contained in the ANC manifesto. Well, we are now joined by the chairperson of the ANC in the Northwest. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Suprama Umapila.
Thank you very much.
Well, you're coming here as a province that has had its fair share of bruises and batterings this year, if the Tlokwe elections and other related areas are anything to go by.
No struggle is easy. The ANC is 102 years old as we speak. Now we are celebrating. It went through bruises itself because the revolution is not easy. But if you rely on the masses and speak to the masses at all times, humble ourselves as we do as the ANC at all times. Where we make mistakes, we acknowledge that we make mistakes. Where we make victories, we celebrate with our people, we will be able to move forward. That's why we're able to win in Tlokwe. We humbled ourselves, we went back to the people, acknowledged our mistakes. That's why they voted for the ANC so overwhelmingly.
And are you confident that when the ANC president unveils that manifesto tomorrow, the people of your province who look forward or who embrace the ANC will say, yes, indeed, the input, I mean, we can see that our leaders have had an input there, and this manifesto speaks to the issues that affect us on the ground?
People are thirsty for that manifesto. They're looking forward to the manifesto. Our forces are ready on the ground to go into the streets, to go to the churches, to the rural areas, to speak to the people about our record from 1994, what we have done to improve the lives of our people in this country. There's water, there's roads, clinics, hospitals, the students at the schools have got support, they have the bursaries and so on. Crime is going down. There's cooperation globally. South Africa is participating there. So there's positivity growing in South Africa, but there are many other challenges that are still there. In our province, we are working together through a philosophy that we call Samtrack. We pull together. We know it's not going to be easy, but we will get the victory certain in April or May, the day on which the president will announce the date of the elections.
Now, one of the issues is, of course, leadership. And many people arguing that if, for example, there was leadership in the province, what happened in Tlokwe would not have happened. So how confident are you that people will read, not only in the manifesto, but from your utterances and you leading by example, that in future, such things, when you are entrusted with responsibilities, you will exercise that responsibility, and that includes making sure that people who are representing your party, who are carrying with them the feelings and aspirations of the people who voted for you, won't be betrayed by haphazard decisions that are taken by some of your leaders on the ground.
The overwhelming majority of the membership and the leadership of the ANC is disciplined. They adhere to the policies, they adhere to the principles. There will always be a few who go off the line of the values of the African National Congress, the discipline of the ANC, the principles of the ANC. So in any revolution, you'll continue to have such elements within the organization. We have said so in Mangaung that there are elements of ill-discipline within the organization. As a movement, we must respond accordingly to such incidents of ill-discipline. In the NEC this week, we discussed the matter, and we said political education must be the cornerstone of how we are going to entrench discipline in the organization across the board. So the majority is disciplined. We have got over 88,000 members. They are well disciplined. If you look at our province, the protests have gone down in our province. There's no longer disruptions of meetings of the African National Congress. So we embrace that positivity. And I think in this year, going forward, we are just going to make sure that we accelerate in that regard.
Mr. Supra Mahumapilo, Chairperson of the ANC in the Northwest, thank you very much.
Good luck
for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, Supra Mahumapilo is, of course, the chairperson, provincial chairperson of the ANC in the Northwest Province, joining us there. Well, we are now joined by the chairperson of another province of the ANC, which is Gauteng. Mr. Paul Mashatile, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, my brother, and good evening.
Well, your province, members of the ANC in Gauteng, when they hear that manifesto being unveiled tomorrow, will they say, yes, we can see the embodiment of our feelings and aspirations in that manifesto? Are you confident?
Yeah, most definitely. I was part of the discussion on that manifesto. It does cover all aspects of life, everything. And I'm convinced that it's a well-crafted document that will talk directly to the issues that affect our people, but also to give our people hope that you have an organization that is determined to make sure that it transforms this country and create a better life for our people. We know there have been a lot of challenges in the past 20 years, but we are looking forward with determination, and we want to say to our people, give us another chance to rule this country, because not only are we determined, but we've got a vision, we've got plans to ensure that the lives of South Africans becomes better.
But what did you put on the table as Gauteng?
Well, with the manifesto, you try a lot not to regionalize it. So most of the issues...
No, I'm not talking specifically like issues that affect Gauteng, but for you, what did you take with from your constituency and put on the table? Well, for everybody, not necessarily for Gauteng.
Oh yes, you know, Gauteng, as you know, is the economic hub of the country, is really the engine of our economy. So most of the things that I'm passionate about are the commitments to ensure faster economic growth, making sure that we can create stronger industrialization, because that's one of the biggest challenges, that whilst we have built so many houses and brought water, electricity, many of our people don't have jobs. So we need to make sure that the economy creates jobs. And the manifesto does talk to that issue, that we need to invest more in the economy, make sure that there's stronger manufacturing, and also particularly addressing youth unemployment. It's one of the issues that we are really concerned about, that there are many young people who leave colleges, universities, and don't get jobs. So if we grow the economy, strengthen our manufacturing sector, we can create jobs for young people. And I'm happy that there is a very strong emphasis on the issue of not just growing the economy, but creating employment.
Now, let me allow you to wear your other hat as the Minister of Arts and Culture. Now, lots of artists, their vulnerability, lots of outstanding issues there. Do you think that when artists hear or listen to President Jacob Zuma unveiling that manifesto tomorrow, they will identify issues that speak directly to them and to their challenges?
Definitely, there is a section that deals with that. Obviously, as you know, the manifesto just gives a framework. It's not really a detailed plan, but we have made sure that we prioritize issues of social cohesion and nation building, issues of sports, arts and culture, just to make a commitment. The plans will come, but there is a commitment that as the ANC, we will make sure that we continue to support sports, arts and culture as the part of the components of nation building. But also that sports, arts and culture, the entire creative industries also contribute to growing the economy and creating jobs. Obviously, we as ministers will later come with the detailed plans. But the fact that the spirit of it is in the manifesto is more important. To say the ANC says, yes, this sector is important, we are going to do something about it. It's there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mashatile, Paul Mashatile, the Minister of Arts and Culture, but also the provincial chairperson of the ANC in Gauteng. Well, we are now joined by the chairperson of the ANC in the Free State. Good morning, welcome Premier, and thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for your and compliments of the new year.
Mr. Mahashula, tell us, as the ANC in the Free State, were there any particularly unique things that you perhaps put on the table as the Free State and said, as the Free State, this is what we're putting on the table for the ANC to consider as it drafted, or it started drafting the manifesto we're going to see unveiled tomorrow?
Well, we have done so because you'll know that since 2009 and now we have been focusing on education, and we have said let's accelerate more students in terms of the generation of democracy, generation of Mandela from 94 until now, 12 years of studies. They are now going to universities, and there are so many throughout the country. And we're then saying we need to look into that. These children must not be on the streets, they must go and study. So we have prioritized, and we're saying let's prioritize, but not just prioritize education, but in action, in word, in deed, we must be seen to be focusing on education, because human resource development is key for South Africa.
I guess that explains why the Free State was #1 in the matric results that were released some days ago.
Yes, it really explains that, because we have been focused, we have been coming with targets, and all the time from 2009 up to 2014 now, we have been having targets. Our next target is 90%, and we have been surpassing those targets, and I hope and I know that we have the will, the zeal, we have the support, because we're working with communities. And one of the things we have put on that agenda is education goes with youth development and youth empowerment. And that's why we actually saying to our young people, economic freedom won't be there if there is no education. So education, education and education. And the Free State is it's a youthful province, a lot of youth. So we have also said let's focus on the issue of young people.
And lastly, and very briefly, Mr. Mahashula, you've been seen in the past few months crisscrossing the province, speaking in particular to white communities. We saw pictures of farmers and other people wearing ANC T-shirts. Is that part of it? Is it a conscious effort on your part, social integration perhaps, or bringing other communities into the ANC?
Yes, if you look at our country and our province, a lot of white people are also poor, so poverty doesn't know any color. And we have decided, because as the ANC, we have been talking about non-racialism since our establishment, and we're saying this is the time where we need an integrated community, social cohesion, and we must make sure that we make everybody feel that South Africa belongs to all, black and white. And that's why we are actually focusing on white people, poor and rich, so that we build a non-racial democratic South Africa.
So thank you very much for talking to us this evening. Well, the Premier of the Free State, but also the provincial chairperson of the ANC in that province. For now, it's to a commercial break. We'll be back.
Good evening and welcome to Kaleidoscope, the show that brings you the very best of Africa to the world. Just a few kilometers away from the hustle and bustle of the city is an animal sanctuary known as the Lion Park. Our great team went to go check out and see if the lion is still singing tonight.
Among all of the cat's family, cheetahs are the most easiest to train or to tame.
A youth leader in South Africa said if white people don't like it, that the youth are going to lead South Africa, they can adapt or fly. And I said, thank you for the title. So again, I thank politicians for my title.
That's Kaleidoscope, Sundays, 5:30 p.m. on SABC News.
How does then media balance those two, responsible reporting and also keeping it factual?
If you're a journalist, and especially a journalist writing a story for a front page, you have to report the facts. The fact is she came to like a fashionista to court.
Once again, media be given credit for carrying the story since its inception.
The media has been very brilliant, and I think they walked the extra mile.
Where is the media in giving us the both sides of the story?
One of the issues with e-tolls is that it really has been a hard news story. And so I can understand why social media has been so effective, because breaking news is digital. And so we're going to get breaking news on that platform and then move into the other platforms of media coverage.
That's Media Monitor, Sundays at 9 a.m. on SABC News.
The Public Protector Advocate Thuli Madonsela says there's an emerging culture of a lack of respect for the rule of law.
We're given resources to manage for the people of South Africa, but for every rand we get from the Minister of Finance, we use 80% for our own comfort and 20% for the core business. That's a just us mentality.
That's a wrap for tonight. See you then.
That's Business News, weekdays at 8 p.m. on SABC News.
Good evening and welcome to Kaleidoscope, the show that brings you the very best of Africa to the world. Just a few kilometers away from the hustle and bustle of the city is an animal sanctuary known as the Lion Park. Our great team went to go check out and see if the lion is still singing tonight.
Among all of the cat's family, cheetahs are the most easiest to train or to tame.
A youth leader in South Africa said if white people don't like it, that the youth are going to lead South Africa, they can adapt or fly. And I said, thank you for the title. So again, I thank politicians for my title.
That's Kaleidoscope, Sundays, 5:30 p.m. on SABC News.
everything I've done is voluntary work, you know.
When he was a young man, we had a football club here in the location. So at times we had what we call team talk. His inputs were always showing us that though he's not a good footballer, but he had a vision of what he expects to happen in the location.
I've got sort of to plow back in my family as well. They've helped me a lot to achieve what I've got now. And then they are expecting something, for instance, of which I can't even provide. My sister, for instance, will help me and buy me a roll-on, you know, such things. And it's been so difficult. From Teflop, where I was studying, that's where I started my voluntary work. What I did there, I was involved with the project of UNICEF, children there. I was sort of a informal fundraiser, going to door in dormitories, asking for 20 cents for the children who were living on our neighborhood around the campus there.
His input helps everybody. We all work together, but nevertheless, he seems to be one of the bright young men that this location has produced.
SACTA is this organization of graduates that are unemployed. What we are trying to do with SACTA is looking at creating employment opportunities for graduates, internship opportunities, training and development, wherein we try to raise awareness to the world out there about the problem that is faced by these graduates that are unemployed.
Due to the plight of unemployment in our country, SACTA caps that plight by introducing programs whereby graduates are able to empower themselves.
It's not just an individual benefit. The whole country will benefit. So I think it's a major program. And please do not say that I might be getting something. I only pocket 20 rand a day from this exercise. And we are looking forward to get some funds.
Through SACTA, I managed to secure employment at LTA.
And then at VETS, I became a part-timer with them, helping students, so that I know my involvement there, my communication with students as well, trying to raise awareness to them that, say, guys, it's not just an easy route, just getting a certificate and going out there. You need to be proactive as early as study level. We are also encouraging, for instance, graduates from SACTA to be involved in community development. So I don't just want, for instance, to talk theory and say, hey, graduates, go there and be involved in communities, whereas one is not doing that. I'm involved in the community. We started a community-based organization called Intutugo Community Development Organization. What we are looking at there, for instance, is the issue of unity amongst ourselves as a community.
When he joined the civic, then we could use our traditional power and his academic power.
My specific approach or strategy is that everyone is equal. In fact, in my community, that's where I get most of the education, the traditional wisdom, for instance. That's where I get it. And at the same time, we're involved in some youth programs wherein we're trying to bring youth together, like through sporting events, you know, some cultural music, some gospel music, some education as well. Although I can take an initiative and become a starter of something, but the people that I work with, I also regard them like as founders of the organization or as strategic people that without them, this initiative wouldn't have been there.
Vugele in another year or two, according to my own judgment, Vugele shall have grown to be a leading community builder in our location.
I want to see blacks and whites sharing their experiences and being able to live with one another in terms of saying, this is not just a whitey from the suburbs there, but the very same white person can come to me and say, let's go and have a beer together and start projects together on how can we help our communities.
I grew up in a Methodist home. My father was a Methodist minister. And I saw my father doing a lot of work with the communities. And I guess when I saw what the church can do within communities, I guess I was inspired, and I wanted to follow. I was being asked by my church at the time to help to see if we could not have black and white Methodists finding one another and trying to live as a community. We did a number of things down in Empangeni. One of the things that really faced us a great deal was poverty. And we mobilized our members and said, how do we care for one another? There's a community there. And we're not just going to care for Methodists, but people in that community. And we started a number of programs of people who have something to eat, arranging that other people could eat as well. And I think that was an eye-opener for most people who were not familiar with the life of most of our black communities.
He still has the same heart. His feeling is for people, and he has committed himself right at the beginning of his term of service as a man who is concerned about the poor. And he is trying to move the church in the direction of taking care of people who are underprivileged.
For me, the best part in our work there was when we arranged to market some of the things that the people could make with their hands in that community. And slowly we saw people beginning to live, and you see that spark in the eye of a person who had nothing, and suddenly now they have something. I think one of the things we achieved there was to instill a sense of self-confidence among our own people, black people.
I regard it as a great privilege to work with this man. I respect him. He has tremendous gifts. I've known him for quite a few years, but getting to know him better from working closely with him, I've been very impressed indeed.
I've never seen churches, various denominations, working as closely together as was the case in Port Elizabeth. You know, through our ministers fraternal, we worked very closely. We challenged our people to see the important things that they needed to be doing in their communities. But I think we succeeded at that time to help young people in particular to realize the value of holding themselves accountable to the community when they do things. All I can say is, for me, it was a privilege to be part of that great movement for peace in the city, and I dare say in the country. It didn't have anything to do with being a coward or a hero. It was a question of something that had to be done, which somebody had to do. I've learned to believe in the power of a people when they are convinced about something they are doing. I cannot reconcile myself with a church that stands by and watches, doing nothing when people are killing one another. I believe that the message of the gospel is, among other things, primarily a gospel of peace.
This is the African Media Resources Center of Excellence out in Craighill Park. My name is Dumisi Dumedi. Thank you very much for joining us here on the Art Bulletin. The Rec Aquarium at Ushaka Marine in Durban is hosting BirdLife South Africa's Oceans of Life photographic exhibition. The works on display until November the 25th aim to raise awareness about marine conservation issues and what you can do to help make a difference.
This photographic competition was really started to support the BirdLife Save Our Seabirds campaign, and it's aimed at highlighting the amazing diversity of marine life and really highlighting seabirds, which are one of the most endangered groups of birds in the world. This is a diverse range of photographs taken by some of the best photographers in the world. We've got underwater photographs, we've got photographs that are above water, there's photographs representing different marine animals across the board. It really is a magnificent display of wonderful images, just inspiring people to care for the oceans.
The National Children's Theatre is known for hosting productions that keep both grown-ups and children intrigued and delighted. Ending today, Susical Jr. is no different, with a mixture of play, style, movement and song.
Because the writing, Dr. Seuss's writing is so unique, there's a lot of play on words. It's beautifully written, and the music sort of captures the essence of the Dr. Seuss writing, and they're wonderful life lessons for everyone in the actual production. There's a lot of fun as well. So I'd say the general mood is extreme, from absolute fun and colour to very sensitive moments, and a lot of life lessons that I think can be learned from this production.
She uses organic material like cotton, rag and silk to create environmental art. That's Mandy Cobbs-Martin in her latest exhibition titled Killing the Goose. It's on at the Art Space until the 27th of November.
I've always been interested in the environment, and so this exhibition is centered around the environment, and it looks at a balance between living in modern day world and finding a balance of how we can balance between this consumerist way of living and trying to find a natural sort of unconsumerist way of living.
At the end of every year, the University of the Witwatersrand, or Wits University as it's known, puts on display works by their graduating visual arts students. For the second time, that exhibition will be held at the Wits Art Museum. Titled New Work 13, it opened on Tuesday and ends on the 24th of November.
It's a very strong class this year of 27 graduates. Each have a work up here at Wits Art Museum to reflect some of the work that they displayed for their final graduating show, and it's a way to celebrate their achievement as graduating fine arts students. There's also a catalogue that shows a little more deeply into their work as a whole and each artist as a whole. That's for sale here at the museum, as well as talkabouts coming up on both Saturdays in the next 2 weeks, the 16th and the 23rd of November.
South African painter Asha Zero is displaying his latest collection in an exhibition titled Forget About the Goo Hacks on at 34 Fine Art in Woodstock. His latest work is distinctive as he uses forms and portraits to enhance fragmented characteristics.
Zero's previous exhibition used to portray a blend of virtual landscapes and have now shifted his view to expressing a different blend to his work. The characters in Forget About the Goo Hacks are not fused into the background as they were in his other works. He has a consistent idea of fooling the eye and tricking the brain when you analyze his works. The use of unrelated bodies put together to create an identity is an illustration of his themes. The exhibition closes on the 7th of December at 34 Fine Art Gallery in Cape Town.
AFDA's annual film and TV showcase will see their graduating students showcase their short film and telenovela productions on the 23rd and 24th of November, taking place at the V&A Waterfront Ster-Kinnico in Cape Town.
It offers several films from both Cape Town and Johannesburg. We have a few documentaries that are new to us, the Masters films. We have a very good Masters film being shown this year, which was shot in Zimbabwe. We have a few of the showcase itself that will take place at AFDA, which is a broadcast evening, has the second lot of our telenovelas that we started last year, also made by our third-year students. And then we have two other documentaries taking place at the film festival at Cinema Nouveau, which was shot in, the one being shot in Germany.
We make films for a local audience, first and foremost. And so the kind of films that you'll see at our festival will range from, issues in the city, the cultural life of that our students experience, tensions that young people face. It's a massive world of imagination, but we really orientated towards a local audience.
Fusing jazz music with choral music while celebrating the centrality of percussions in African spirituality is Dumi Mokgorosi's debut album titled Project Elo. Mokgorosi will perform works from that album today at King Kong in Truyville, Johannesburg.
Our Project Elo is an album that incorporates like an opera kind of scenario meet jazz. But the music really speaks about like sort of like society and the injustices just as we go, you know, and on our everyday walk, what we see and what we're trying to engage in just to build a better society for everyone. It has a lot of meanings, you know, not to be religious or anything like that, but then it has a lot to do with spirituality. It has a lot of significances, but it also mainly speaks about us dealing with ourselves in order to better ourselves, and by bettering ourselves, we're bettering everything that's around us.
Lost Men is a series of unique, site-specific, temporary land art interventions that deal with the concepts of loss, memorial, memory, and public grief. The work by Paul Emmanuel has been selected for the official state commemorations program of the First World War Centenary in France.
The Lost Men was originally inspired by a number of things. In 2003, the Iraq War affected me quite deeply, and because of my sexuality and because of my relationships with men from past broken relationships and the loss of those relationships that comes along with life, I suppose, the war and ideas of patriarchy, how men are to be perceived in society, all of that stuff, perceptions of masculinity and war, the military, those are very powerful things that have influenced me in the past. And The Lost Men comes out of all of those things. The images of my body with the names of men who have died in battles that have been fought, those names get pressed into the skin, into my skin of my body.
From the African Media Resources Center of Excellence out in Craigwell Park, that's all the arts news we have for you today. You can check them out by visiting www.jtcoms.co.za. You can keep in touch with us by doing the usual, and that's emailing theartbulletin@sabc.co.za or visiting our page on Facebook or following us on Twitter. Until tomorrow morning, it's a goodbye from us.
Faces its worst food shortage in 4 years. Tens of thousands have begun receiving food aid.
Finally, some help to stave off hunger for at least another month. Cattle ranching Rishavane is the worst affected.
Trade and Industry Minister Rob Davies says he can confirm that South Africa remains open for business.
The bill will confirm that South Africa remains open to foreign investment.
Egerton is showing his hand in preparation of the Chan tournament in January.
Primetime News, daily at 6 p.m. on SABC News.
With so many bad incidents happening around us, we continue sourcing, unpacking and televising
Welcome back to this special broadcast brought to you by SABC News. Well, this evening, President Jacob Zuma is expected to unveil aspects of the ANC's election manifesto. The manifesto itself, of course, is going to be formally launched and unveiled tomorrow morning here in Nelspruit at the Mbombela municipality at the stadium. And President Jacob Zuma will be the person unveiling that manifesto. But this evening he is addressing leaders of business, the ANC's own allies, fraternal organizations from the continent and from around the world. He has just arrived. He is to go in now, and as soon as he walks in, that will indeed mark the beginning of this function, the banquet that is taking place. He is, of course, inside already which then means that this function is beginning in earnest, albeit 2 hours later. Well, without much ado, let's go inside.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I've already apologized, Mr. President, that the storm of Mbombela nearly made this event not to happen. But as they say in the African tradition, that rain is a good omen. So the forefathers and mothers of the ANC are still with us tonight. So can we be upstanding while those who are going to be rendering the national anthem of the Republic of South Africa enter the stage?
Nkosi sikeleli Afrika maluphakanyisu phondo lwayo izwa imithandazo yethu Nkosi sikelela lusapho lwayo murena boloka setšhaba sa Yesu ufedise dintwa le matshwenyego o se boloke setšhaba Yesu setšhaba sa South Africa, South Africa. Die blauw van onze hemel, die diepte van ons Heer. Oor ons ewige gebergtes, waar die kranse antwoord gee. Sounds the call to come together, and united we shall stand. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa, our land.
Thanks, Deborah, for that beautiful rendition. Once again, welcome on this auspicious occasion where the President of the African National Congress will be unveiling the manifesto for the ANC for the elections 2014. My role is to direct the program, not to make any speech. There are 3 things that are going to be happening, as I've indicated. Firstly, the President will be unveiling the manifesto of the ANC. And secondly, we'll be hearing the music of the ANC celebrating 20 years of freedom and democracy. And also, of course, we'll be wining and dining courtesy of the ANC. So without any further ado, I'll call upon the national chairperson of the ANC, Baleka Mbete, to give a welcoming address.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't see you, but I know you are out there. Good evening. And welcome to 2014, a great year because it's the 20th anniversary of the ANC leading this country and this society to better the lives of our people. We welcome you to 2014 because it's a year we look forward to as the African National Congress. We would like to also use this opportunity to say compliments of the season. We hope you enjoyed the festive season. We hope you went Nazkota Mangleba after we had laid down our father, our Madiba, our Tata, in a manner that was very, very dignified and in a manner that united us. We think he chose that moment of leaving us very strategically because now he can lie down, look at us with a smile as we enter yet another year of making him feel proud. And so I welcome all of you and really want to repeat what Comrade Jeff said when he said that that storm was a beautiful omen. Was an omen I suspect Madiba had something to do with. If you remember what happened at the memorial service, you remember how much it rained. Others who remember when he was lying in state will know that towards the end of the day, there would suddenly be a storm. And it was the poetry from our Tata. And by the way, they were having a good time that side. So now the year is starting. Let's have a good year, 2014, and let's get to a successful election campaign and successful elections. Thank you very much. Let's enjoy ourselves.
Thank you, National Chair. And I'm sure the people have seen that there's an interpreter, and I've heard on good authority that is a genuine one. So let the music begin.
Thank you so much.
Another round of applause for this beautiful rendition. We're united in our diversity. We've now come to a point where I'll request the President of the Republic of South Africa and the President of the ANC to deliver the main address. But before he does so, there will something that will happen. But I just want to say, this is the son of the soil, a man who spent all his life fighting that you and I must be freed. He left no stone unturned in fighting for the liberation of this land. He went to Robben Island for 10 years. After those 10 years on Robben Island, he did not despair, but he continued to struggle for our freedom. When he was in exile, he was the head of our intelligence. And when the time came for us to negotiate with the apartheid regime, President Tambo assigned former President Mbeki and President Zuma to be the ones who were the in-betweens in the talks about talks. There's the trust that former President Tambo had in President Zuma. So with those words, I would like to say, Mr. President, the audience is yours.
I can't hear you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director of the program, Comrade Jeff Khadebe, ANC officials, members of the National Executive Committee of the ANC, leadership of the leagues of the ANC, leadership of the South African Communist Party, leadership of COSATU, leadership of SANCO, MKMVA, comrades and friends, our guests this evening, friends from around the world who are with us today, good evening, everyone. Sanbonani, Molweni, Liperile, Dumelang, Lekai. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on the eve of the celebration of the 102nd anniversary of our glorious movement, the African National Congress. It is a significant occasion for us tonight, particularly because we are also unveiling the manifesto of the ANC for the next 5 years, which will be formally launched tomorrow. Five years ago, we made a clarion call that working together we can do more. And we have worked together, and we have done more. We have worked together with all sectors of society to build our country, from workers, business, social organizations, and international partners, as we implemented programs to improve the quality of life of our people. We're building on work that had been done since 1994 to eradicate the legacy of apartheid. Looking back, we are able to boldly say that we have a good story to tell. In the last 20 years, we were able to lay a good foundation and to consolidate our democracy. We began a nation-building process founded on the need to build a South Africa that truly belongs to all who live in it, regardless of color, race, class, or creed. The lives of millions of our people have improved. And South Africa is indeed a better country to live in now than it was before 1994. For that, we thank all South Africans for their hard work, dedication, and commitment to make South Africa a better place. While extensive work has been done since 1994 by the ANC government, over the last 5 years, this work was taken further as we did more together to fight poverty, unemployment, and inequality. Despite the negative global economic situation, we have built on the social gains achieved since 1994. More of our people have been lifted out of extreme poverty. We have created more jobs than before, expanded social grants, housing and basic services to our people, and further improved access to better education and health care. We believe we have made progress because we decided to be more focused. We identified 5 priorities then. These were education, health, rural development and land reform, creating decent work, and the fight against crime and corruption. The manifesto outlines the progress made since 1994. We can count few achievements in the last 5 years, but there are important ones. The economy regained the 1 million jobs lost as a result of the 2008 global economic crisis. Employment is now higher than it has ever been. More than 1 trillion rand has been invested in national infrastructure projects, compared with 451 billion rand in the previous 5 years. The promotion of adults with access to banking services grew from 60% in 2009 to 75% in 2013. Nearly 500 informal settlements have been replaced with are in no-fee schools, up from 5 million in 2009. Teacher education has expanded the number to 13,000 in 2012. Through the prevention of mother-to-child transmission program, the number was reduced by 66% from 24,000 in 2008 to life expectancy increased to 60 years in 2012 due to the dramatic prevention and treatment interventions we introduced in 2009. We believe our success has also stemmed from the manner in which we reconfigured government. We introduced that have proven to have been a good investment indeed. The ANC Manifesto of 2009, service delivery. Performance, monitoring, and evaluation. We introduced a Department of Performance Monitoring and Evaluation in the presidency would perform and be judged. For the first time, ministers signed performance agreements and were clear on time frames and targets. In other words, we began to say a reporting system based on outcomes, and that has improved the functioning of government. And it is important to underline the fact that this emerged from resolutions of the ANC conference. It was the ANC conference that had taken very serious decisions to ensure that we have a functioning government. Another critical intervention introduced by the ANC in government was long-term planning in the form of the National Planning Commission. The ANC 2009 election manifesto outlined the objective. We said in our resolution, in our manifesto, and I quote, "We will ensure a more effective government, improve the coordination and planning efforts of the developmental state by means of a planning entity to ensure faster change," unquote. The National Planning Commission was thus established and produced the National Development Plan, which has received overwhelming support nationwide. It is important To underline this success, many would know there are countries, some with departments that are called planning departments and different structures as well. These are government working on their plans on their own. In our case, we approached this matter differently, partly because we believed a national plan must have an endorsement of the country. We didn't think you needed the government to sit on its own and make a plan without the contribution of the citizens of the country. We also believed that we needed a plan that must be accepted by the overwhelming majority. And for that to happen, we believed we needed to get South Africans with expertise and talent to work on this and interact with South Africans for the approval. We did not think we needed to meet as a National Executive Committee, something we could have easily done because we are capable of doing so. But we thought it was important that the participation of the country was important, so that this plan must be indeed a national plan, not a party plan, so to speak. And indeed, when it was drafted, it was taken around the country to all sectors, political and non-political. And it received an overwhelming support and endorsement. And it was finally adopted by Parliament, by all parties. It is a plan for the country, which the government must implement. It's important to bear that in mind. In a sense, you cannot have a plan that each and every citizen will accept. Others will have views about it. Perhaps correctly so. This is democracy. It's the nature of democracy. Democracy does not say there must be total consensus. That's not democracy. Democracy, people express their views. But equally, democracy says, then respect the views of the majority once it is concluded. If you said, I don't accept the views of the majority, then you are saying something about your understanding of democracy. This is an unprecedented plan, overwhelmingly accepted by the country. You must be brave to stand up and say, I disagree with the nation. I totally disagree with the nation. Then our understanding of democracy will be something else. What democracy says, the majority prevails. That's a simple principle of democracy. The majority prevails. If you do not believe in democracy, then you say, sorry, not me. Then you don't believe in democracy, in simple terms. And this is important because this came as we tried to say, how do we move forward as a country? To work hard to change the lives of our people. and indeed make South Africa a prosperous one. Deal with the matters as they are detailed in the plan. Ours is to implement. The continuation to battle about it tells another story about what I've just said. What is our understanding of democracy? Does democracy mean the total consensus? Can you have it? Is it possible? You know, when we're negotiating, because we wanted to end apartheid, we agreed that we'll take decisions by sufficient consensus. Because you will never have consensus in totality. It's impossible. But it's an important development that has happened in our democratic society, that the people of this country, almost like in the Freedom Charter, in the Freedom Charter it was not everyone, and yet is such a historic document. Others disagreed with it for a long time. But you couldn't say you could not implement Freedom Charter. You must come out and fight it at all costs. And people disagreed with it. In fact, those who were in government arrested those who adopted it and crafted it and charged them with high treason. So the National Development Plan is ours, worked on and adopted by the overwhelming majority of this country. What a success. It does not mean as we implement it, we are not going to adjust and look at it and agree and adapt in one form or the other, because it is a national plan. It might even be influenced with the passage of time. But in essence, in principle, it is our plan. We reconfigured some of the departments as well. For an example, education was split into two: basic and higher education. Annual national assessments to ascertain what is wrong with basic education. We introduced the ANA. The assessments forced schools to confront problems and to perform better. The gradual improvement in matric results indicates that the investment in basic education is yielding the results. The critical challenge that we're faced with was that over the years, the results were fluctuating, almost depending on good luck, whether we're lucky that year or not. And we thought this one huge department is not paying attention to the basic, at the foundation of education. We're all focusing to education to those who are completing matric and going to the tertiary. And many were not reaching there, where the foundation was weak. And we thought it was important to have a ministry focusing on what to do to make the foundation stronger. And what we are reaping today are the results of that focus. We now know. We now know what was wrong and what needed to be fixed. And I can tell you without a fear of contradiction that the improvement in the results will never go back. And it's important for us as South Africans to be objective, by the way. In the course of us dealing with this issue, dealing with teething problems, there were many calls that the president must sack the Minister of Basic Education. And I stood up and said, she knows her job. She knows what she was doing. And indeed, she has produced good results. As a country, we need to encourage her, not be negative about what she's doing. It's very important. I know that South Africans are very critical to themselves. At times, overcritical. Perhaps correctly so, because we need to do better all the time. You know, if South Africans lose twice, they change the referee. And that has resulted to our soccer not developing appropriately, because you keep on changing referees. Now, you can't have a good team if you do so, because you don't want to lose. You want to win all the time. In a game, you win or lose, and you must accept lost with a smile. But the point I'm underlining is that this development of separating the department into two and focusing on basic education is beginning to show results, including not just passing in general, including quality passes, including science subjects. I heard that some people don't believe it has happened. They even think there must be some commissions to investigate. I don't know. On higher education, we have expanded access and promoted further education and training colleges to improve the technical skills base of the country. More students are enrolling in higher education institutions due to the bursary incentives. In addition, 2 brand new universities begin operating their operations this month. Higher education is doing something we did not expect. It has changed the psychology of FETs to the country to become important, because they are important. We said education was our apex priority, priority number 1. We believe in this government that if we succeed in education, would have resolved more than half of our problems. And therefore, investing in education is a wise investment for any country. On health, another priority, the National Health Insurance Initiative, our flagship program, has been piloted. we have made dramatic progress in stemming the tide of HIV and AIDS. Our intensive prevention and treatment program, introduced in 2009, has dramatically and drastically increased life expectancy from around 54% to 60%. What is important on this matter of NHI? Very important is that we are moving to create a situation in our country that the question of treatment is not going to be based on whether you have the money or not. If you're a citizen of this country, whether we are poor or you belong to the working class, you are going to have access to medical treatment. There are too many people who die because they cannot afford medicine, who cannot afford operations because they are poor. Why should they be condemned? Because they are poor. This system guarantees the treatment to every South African citizen, and it's a correct thing to do, and it must be supported. We can count a number of other new initiatives and innovations. For an example, our focus on infrastructure development, which is coordinated in the presidency through the Presidential Infrastructure Coordination Commission. That again is changing the economic landscape of the country. Indeed, we have made progress in our last 20 years and in our last 5 years. Going forward, having said all this, the fact remains that poverty, inequality, and unemployment still affect the lives of many people. Our economy continues to feel the effects of the global economic slowdown. We must therefore intervene decisively to take our country forward. South Africa has begun a new and far-reaching phase of its democratic transition. This calls for bold and decisive steps to place the economy on a qualitative, different path. Our manifesto, which we will present to the masses of our people and the country tomorrow at the January 8th celebrations, outlines what we intend to do over the next 5 years to deal with the challenges outlined above. The manifesto talks to what we will do. Build an inclusive economy that creates jobs. Transform our rural areas. Ensure decent living conditions and sustainable human settlements. Improve and expand education and training. Ensure quality health. Firstly, we dedicate it to our leader, Madiba. We present our vision in it. We present our key commitments to move South Africa forward. And it goes into details of what is it that we believe we need to do. It looks at 20 years of freedom and democracy. What has happened? We're given a task and a mandate 20 years ago. As we celebrate 20 years, what is it that we believe we have done? It looks at building a democratic developmental state. It looks at the economy that produces jobs. So it looks at what has happened since 20 years. What have we done? But it also looks at what have we done in the last 5 years. The term which is ending in a few months' time. It looks into that as well. It looks at the elements that have helped us in terms of the economy, as policies, as plans, as actions that we have been undertaking. And it is convinced that some of the programs that we have embarked upon still need to continue, including the 5 priorities. Our identifying of 5 priorities helped so that we did not bite a big thing that we could not chew. We bite something that we could chew. That's why we can see results today. It deals with a number of things. It deals with the national planning, national development plan. It deals again with the issues we are dealing with, the rural development and food security. Comes back to education, health, the struggle to fight crime and corruption. But it also looks, how do we make a better Africa and a better world? It also looks at social cohesion and nation building. It's a wonderful manifesto. You will agree with me. We also take the pledge, but we also ask the people to come out and vote during the elections. It is their hard-won right to vote. Of course, tomorrow we'll be telling them exactly who to vote. Absolutely. Because we believe very strongly that the ANC, the African National Congress, is the organization of the people. It's not just a party, not just a party only, that was formed by people because of specific ideas or because they were friends or because they were angry. No. It was formed by people of this country to meet the challenges, national challenges that faced us. And we still have national challenge that faces us today. And therefore, that's an organization that knows exactly why it exists and what is its task and what it is supposed to do. And that's what we'll be telling the people tomorrow. Vote for. The African National Congress, which is today 102, the oldest, but evergreen. Evergreen. Growing in strength, in clarity, in everything you can think of. We started governing the country 20 years ago. We've been getting better and better in governance, because the ANC is capable of adapting to new conditions, to analyze the situation scientifically, and come up with scientific strategies and tactics. Ngiyabadabukela abangekho ku-ANC. Niphuthelwe. Niphuthelwe. It's a wonderful organization. Beautiful. Kumnandi laphaya. Well, today you are at the gala dinner. Mine was to unveil the manifesto. But say, this organization is your organization. It needs to be supported so that it can continue to do its task. And therefore, business people, as I always say, you have a duty to support your organization. If you support the ANC, you are doing wise investment. Absolutely. I know that some people, when I say so, they get jealous. But it's a reality. This organization has clear policies, very clear. You don't ask. And you know for a fact, when we develop these policies, we share with you. We don't have meetings or conferences in the corners. Everybody gets to know, see our documents. Many of you are allowed to comment because we are confident of our policies. Now, it's your choice. Whether you look at the corner you don't know, or you take the route you don't know, whether it is going home or not home, and leave the route that takes you home. That's your choice. But that's a different matter. We are in a journey that is long. Our leader says, long walk to freedom. And still a long walk to prosperity. Because there are many things we still need to do. He's saying the lendle esihamba. Oh, hinde lendlela esihambayo. Oh, hinde lendlela esihambayo. Oh, hinde lendlela esihambayo. Oh, hinde lendlela esihambayo. Washumandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-freedom. Washumandela ubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-freedom Washumandela ubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-freedom Endlela esihambayo lendlela esihambayo lendlela esihambayo lendlela esihambayo Washumandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-freedom Washumandela kubalandeli bakhe wathi sohlangana nge-freedom Siyabonga. Thank you very much indeed.
Somebody scream, yeah. ANC's in town. Yes. Somebody scream, ANC's in town. ANC, I save the people. I make the people them free. I make people live right. Everything is one with the ANC. I lead on. ANC is a party which has saved me. You wanna live right? ANC. ANC. Somebody scream, ANC is in town. Somebody scream, ANC is in town. Me love it. Cause no more poverty for the people. Equal rights for the people. Me want the fattest girls in the room come around and shake your bum bum like mad. Me want the biggest girls in the era come around and shake your bum bum like mad. Let me say. Let me say. Let me say. Let me say. Jamie. Come in slow motion, moving up to the roof. Jamie, give me no. Jamie. Yes, it's a big fat sex bomb, girls. Jamie, somebody scream, ANC is in town. Somebody scream, ANC is in town. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.